discuss chapter 11, which is entitled Teaching, Writing, one of the skills that we are going to have, and we are going to see how is it to be taught according to CLT. Goals and techniques. Writing the visual representation of a language is undividable from helping students communicate and understand how the part of language go together. These lines, we are going to tackle different ideas that are related to writing. First of all, what is writing? Writing is what? Visual representation. What does it mean? When I say visual, it means that it can be seen. I can see here, I can see language. Okay, so when we say that writing is visual, what does it mean? It means that I can see it. Okay, then we have a representation. What does it mean? It means that language will be symbolized. What does it mean? It means that language will be represented by symbols. What do we have for symbols? We have letters, okay? Letters to be written, okay? Here, when we are talking about writing, we are talking about a form in which, or a media in which language will be represented. What does it mean? It means that it will be compared with the utterances. Utterances are to be spoken, and then words, sentences are to be written. So what do we have for this? We have something to be seen, and it is seen through symbols. Is it
and something
okay
to be listened?
Is it okay now with writing? What do we have for writing? Writing is a visual representation. Why to say visual? Because it is to be seen. Why it is to be a representation? Because we have symbols to represent language. What are these symbols? Letters. Okay. Then what else? Undividable from helping students communicate. Okay. Now here we have the relationship between what? Writing and communication. The word undividable from what? From the other skills.
Yes.
What are the skills that we have tackled so far? Listening, speaking, reading, writing. Okay? So it is inseparable from the other. So it is a chain, if we consider. So in this case, what do we have? We have writing as one of the skills that are directed to what? To achieve communication. So do we have communication in writing? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the idea. So here it is inseparable from the other skills that are aiming to communicate. Okay. So here we are going to consider what kind of communication that we are going to have. Of course, communication will not be spoken. It will be what? It will be written. So in this case, here, if we want just to communicate, we are going to use symbols. We are going to use letters. We are going to use the visual representation to recognize the ideas in our minds. So it is not through speech, it is through writing. So is that okay? So here in this case we have communication. Yes. Now imagine that you are going to have a contact with your friend. You are, and that friend is living abroad. Okay, too far. Okay, how can you communicate? You are not going to be in touch. Physically. Okay, so you are going to use what?
Email,
you are going
letter.
to use, for example, letters. You know letters. When I say a letter, you write a letter to your friend.
Yes.
Okay. So do we have communication here or not? Yes, of course, because here we don't have face-to-face communication, but what do we have? Communication through written form.
Communication and exchanges.
Through what? Yeah. How to? Okay. How do we have two ways communication here? Of course, what is to be written will be read, and then there must be a response for the piece that are to be written, again through the written form. So what do we have here? Two sides of communication: sender and receiver, and then we have exchanging between them. Okay, so in this case, what do we have? We have communication
Exchange.
in writing. What do we have in writing? We have communication. So is that okay up to this point?
Yes.
Question?
Yes,
So
yes.
you have to consider these keywords: visual representation, undividable from what? From the other skills. We have communication in writing because all skills aiming to have communication. Then understand how the part of language go together. What does it mean? Language is an entity, it is a unit. Okay, language goes through written form and spoken form. Okay, so in this case, language would go this way or that way. I mean, whether it is possible for the sender to send it through the written form or spoken form. So here, language would go the way that the sender will shape the kind of communication. Okay, and then the receiver to have the message, whether it is in a written form or in a spoken form. Yeah. So here, in this case, we have communication through sentences, through words, through symbols, through letters that we are going to have. And of course here, these symbols will be agreed among those communicators. Okay, so if I want just to write something, okay, the representation or the written form of this word will be known by you as a receiver and by me as a sender. If I want just to write a word, okay, just like pen, okay, if you are not having an idea how is it to be written, you are not going to understand this word. But if you have the idea how to shape this on paper, okay, how to write P, how to write E, and how to write N, in this case, okay, you cannot understand what is it. So here, misconception or misunderstanding of the message will be related to what? To the symbols that are to be used to represent language visually. Okay, you see now when I say visually, you see now the caption is an example. You see now, you can see the language that I use visually, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
You see now, my utterances are to be visualized. It is visual. It is visual.
Yes, doctor.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is what we call visual representation through what? Symbols. Unless you know the letters, you cannot recognize these words. Okay. Unless you can recognize what symbols that are to be represented, you cannot understand what is to be written. Okay, imagine that what is written in Chinese. Okay, if you don't know the Chinese letters, you cannot recognize them even if you see them. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So the idea here,
Yes.
you must understand. The visual representation in order just to communicate. Otherwise,
Doctor-
there is no understanding. There is miscommunication here. Yes.
Doctor, about Chinese, because the word in Chinese, it's as a symbol. Every word has a symbol or just a print.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
They draw
Well-
them in a.
Well, I'm not here behind a specific language, but I'm talking generally, okay? Because you see
Just
now, because we took an example of the caption because you see we are using the target language, okay?
Yes, I know.
Unless you know these letters, you cannot understand me. when you yeah,
information
yeah,
that
you see now, when, for example, here for the net connection, if it is weak and students cannot hear me well, if the sound is not okay, they can look at the caption and they can understand.
just I know information.
Either ways,
but,
so either
the
ways we
word
have communication.
women,
So here communication will be done here in our lecture for both media, you know, spoken and written, written with the caption and spoken with the sound.
Yes,
You got the point? Both of them
Yes.
achieving communication. So you are going to choose which way you are going to follow, spoken or written. Because what do we have for the aim? You have communication, because you see now, when you say yes, it means that you confirm that you understood. You got the point now? So whether you understood orally or through the orthographic representation, we call it, by the way, this term, when I say orthographic, it means writing. Okay, so you have to consider this word, orthographic. When I say orthographic, it means written. Okay, so
Okay.
if we have orthographic representation, just like the caption, you can understand, or you can understand by sound if these utterances are to be said, just like what I'm doing now. Okay. Then,
Okay.
yeah, many students actually learn and remember more through the written word, and this is very important. What does it mean? Here, you remember when we talk about listening, and we say that sometimes in some ways we cannot capture everything to be said. Okay.
Yes, yes.
But for here, for the written form, or the written media, you can have a time to recall and a time to understand. What does it mean? Now, if this book, the textbook that you have, is to be orally given to you, you cannot capture everything. But now the textbook is available to you as what? In a paper form. What does it mean? In a written media. Okay. So
Text.
after the lecture, you can check the textbook. You can recall what we said earlier, and then it will be okay for you. So it will be easier for you, because it is kept as something to be, controlled. Why to be controlled? Because the representation is found. The representation of the idea that we have, okay, is found in the textbook. So you can go once again and read it the time you wish, and you are going to what? To have a time to recall. What does it mean, recall? To remember. Okay, and this is if you want just to read something written. But if you want just to what? To have it as a skill. What does it mean? Let us take an example of the oral exam and the written exam. With the oral exam, you remember with the quizzes that we made, okay? Students are having limited time to answer, just like the things that we do in report discussion, okay? We
Yeah.
have limited time to answer specifically about something specific. Okay, so the way or the time that they remember will be limited. But compare it with the written form, when you are going to have a written exam. You see, so you are going to have a good time to remember, to call the things, or to recall things that you have in your mind. So compare between these two things, the oral media and the written media. Which makes you flexible just to remember and recall, the written exam or the oral exam?
Doctor,
Got the point now? Got the point now? And this is what we call what? The idea of remembering or recalling. So with the written form, we have a time to recall and remember. Okay, that is if we want just to write. That is by what? By doing writing. Okay, this is the idea. That is, when you are going to do writing, okay? So here with this, you are going to have a good time to remember and recall the ideas in your mind and to put it on paper. But if you are going to be asked orally, the time will be short. The time for remembering will be short, and the achievement will not be compared as we have in the written form. And that's why you see now, those who are not developing their own abilities in spoken and written form equally, and this is a fact, by the way, if they are going to be examined on paper, they will achieve good marks, okay, as to be compared with the oral exam. And you see now, students here vary. Those who are developing their own written abilities, okay, or what we call the abilities just to use writing rather than just to use the spoken form, okay, it will be difficult for them just to achieve the same results in the oral exam, right?
Yeah.
So here, do you have an idea about these things? These are very good examples to compare between the written media and oral media. You can notice some students who are very good in written exams. Once you are going to examine them orally, they are not going to achieve the same results.
Yes, doctor. And
What is the reason? What is the reason? Because they are not developing their oral skills equally with the abilities of writing.
Or
Okay.
doctor, because they are
don't you think that here it is let me say something astonishing when you see now a student who is not participating daily and is not doing things. I mean, when you have it in in face-to-face lectures, not in electronic lectures, okay, you may feel that student is maybe lazy or careless, okay, but you
Yes,
are going to be
doctor.
astonished by his results in the monthly exam, okay.
maybe shy because they doesn't participate or
You see
practice.
now why? Because basically this student is a good student, but he is relying on what? On the written media to reflect his own, let me say, abilities. The other point now. So you are going to see those students having high marks in the written exams. Okay, once they are going to be examined orally, it is nothing. Although they are good students, but they are what? They are not able to answer the same way. Okay, they are going to manage themselves. You see, what do you mean by manage themselves? Maybe they are going to respond correctly, but not perfectly, just like the written exam. So is that okay?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
Yes,
doctor.
So here, this is what I need you just to consider, that written media will give the flexibility to what? To recall and remember. Okay, it has a time. So this is what? The time to remember, time recall, comparatively with what? With the oral media. Writing almost always involves reading. This is very important. So here, what do we have? The relationship between reading and writing. You see now, listening is having a relation with speaking, and reading has a relation with what? With writing.
Writing.
Okay.
Doctor,
So the two
I have
skills.
a question about
Yeah.
this.
Tell me, please.
Doctor, when I see the order of these skills in the textbook, we see listening and speaking. Then reading and writing. So if listening and speaking are working together, and writing with reading working together, or all these skills working together in a classroom.
By the way, when we classify them in the textbook, this is for the cases of study. It is not for the cases of arrangement, which one to begin with. The other point now. So here,
Yes.
when we consider CLT suggests that you have to teach them all together. All together.
Yes.
Listening, speaking, reading, writing. Okay?
Doctor, in a classroom.
In a classroom, yes, yeah. It is to be manipulated all together by having different classroom activities, by the way. Okay, you have, for
Yes.
example, 45 minutes for the lesson. It is not only devoted for one skill. You have an activity for listening, an activity for
Doctor, actually, we do all these skills together.
Yeah, because as we said earlier, that language is one entity, one unit. Okay, you cannot divide it. It is to be divided for the cases of study. Okay, just like a human body,
Yes.
just like a human body, when we are going to analyze them, okay, I mean the parts, okay, or the organs, okay, for the physiology, physiology. Okay,
Yes.
this is for cases of study. But if I ask you, is the human body working individually, or in parts, or all together?
Of course not.
No.
You see, so the
course.
idea
They
here,
are working together.
the same thing. So imagine it this way, or consider it this way.
It's clear, Doctor. Thanks.
Now we are having two important technical terms: receptive and productive. What is to be receptive? Of course, reading. What is to be productive? Writing. How is it to be receptive? Because in reading we are going to acquire a new vocabulary, acquire new styles of writing, acquire a new structure. Acquire. What does it mean? Acquire. We are going to receive and receive and receive. Okay. The much we read, the more that we get. Okay. So it is what? It is receptive, but it is not passive. What does it mean? It is. What is done is to be considered mentally. What does it mean? Here, if we want just to consider vocabulary, for example, I'm going to acquire this vocabulary, and it will be where inside my mind. Okay. So do we have? Something to be done? Yes, but it is what? It is mentally. Here, when we move to what? To writing, it will be what? Productive. Why? Because we are going to realize what we get from reading, and we are going to have it where? In writing. Here, as we read different vocabulary and different uses of this vocabulary, we are going to use them in our written pieces. We read something in certain references, and then we get vocabulary, and then we are going to have chances to use them when we write an essay, when we write a composition, when we write, for example, an article. Okay. So here, what we gain from reading will be utilized in writing. So here we have reception. Here we have production. Why to say production? Because it is realized. It is our own production. What does it mean? We collect from different references, different vocabulary, but we put it all together in a single essay. Got the point now? So here,
Yes.
our production will be ours. What does it mean? It will be our creativity. It is our production. It is a collection, yes, but it is not to be repeated, and that's why it is productive. Clear?
Yes,
So,
it
Just
was.
so we here take from reading and give throw writing.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you, Fatma. When you have in the first course you have essay writing, okay? Of course, you were
Yes.
asked just to write a descriptive essay, a narrative essay, an argumentative essay. And by the way, last year I taught essay writing for third class. Here, when we talk about these things, of course, your own essay will be your production. Okay, you are not having a photocopy from other things to be put on paper. It would be meaningless. Okay, but it is your own production. It is your own vocabulary. It is your own style. It is your own arrangement. So in this case, what do we have? We have production.
But doctor, by words we learn from reading. So
Of
it is
course,
not
of
in
course.
you.
Here you
But-
are going to be receptive. The much you read,
Yes,
the
not
more you
really.
get. The much you read, and that is the relationship between what? Reading and writing. You take
Yes, doctor.
from reading and you are going to apply in writing.
And give throw writing.
And that's why they are interdependent. And this is the the word that is used in the textbook.
Each one depends on
each skill builds for the other. What does it mean? It means that what we gain from reading will be used or utilized in writing. But here,
Doctor, one skill complete the other.
it is not only a completion, it builds for.
Yes.
What does it mean it builds for? It means that we utilize what we have in reading
reading.
to be
writing.
to be applied in writing. Building
yes.
for. You know when I say building for.
Yes,
So
doctor.
here,
Lecture means that interaction
sorry,
or writing.
production.
mean that there is a
production, Salim.
And then
Salim, we said production. You can see the caption, okay? Production.
okay, yes.
Yeah, not interaction. Production. So here,
Dictator,
yes.
it's the same relationship when we said about listening and speaking.
Yeah.
We said we have to learn to develop
Here
our listening
we
and
want just
understand,
to,
and then
yeah. Here we,
imply.
That's very fine. Here we want just to emphasize something. That is, if they are interdependent, does it mean that if I'm going to develop a reading skill, I'm going to be a good writer? We are going to discover.
Of course.
Generally speaking, a student who reads with ease and reads widely finds writing easier than the students who does not read. By the way, this is a grammatical mistake, because when I say he does not read, not reads. Can
Yes.
you consider what is found in the book? Okay.
Yes, yes.
He does not read much and or read with difficulty. It doesn't necessarily follow that a good reader is a good at writing, but most students find that if they continue to practice reading, their writing improves. So what does it mean?
Not all of it.
What
Not
does
all
it
of
mean?
it.
What does it mean here? We said that each skill builds for the other. It's okay. But each skill has its own way to train, its own way to improve, its own strategies to develop. Okay? I'm a good reader, but unless I practice writing, I'm not going to rely on reading to be a good writer. Get the point now? And that's why
Yes.
sometimes you see now
Yes.
here it's a matter of abilities. You see now, you may find a learner who is reading so much. Once you ask him to write something, he fails to write 2 sentences. By
That's
his
all I
own,
have
by his
questions.
own. What does it mean by his own? It means that it is not his production. He is going to quote it. He's going to photocopy it from references and to put it on paper. Why? The question why? Because he does not practice writing. He does not develop writing. So each skill will work singly with the reference to what? To training. With the reference to what? To practice. Okay? As we said, you see now, Ayat Ahmed mentioned something about these, notions that are related to listening and speaking, the same thing. Unless we practice speaking, we cannot speak relying on listening only. Unless we practice writing, we cannot be good writers depending on reading only. This relationship should be understood this way. There is an interdependency among these skills, but each skill needs its own way of training, its own way of practicing. Unless we practice it individually, we cannot develop it, relying on the other skill. Is that okay?
It's clear.
Yes, doctor. Yes.
In preparing a writing activity, we need to focus on what students need to practice. Okay, now we mentioned something about the practice. So what are things that we have to practice in writing? In order to improve their writing skill, writing activities should help students practice. Number one, transitions. What do you mean by transitions? Writing helps students connect the language and make transition between words. Students learn to write smoother sentences by combining sentences using words like and, but, although, if, when, so, and therefore. I believe that when you studied in the first course essay writing, you can consider what does it mean here. Here, when we talk about transition, that is cohesion. You remember cohesion? Cohesion. Okay. How can I find a relationship among sentences? Because here, if I'm writing a paragraph, okay, a paragraph cannot be separate sentences. There must be a relation among these sentences. How can we reflect this relation? Through joiners. You know joiners, okay? Through cohesive devices, okay? Conjunctions.
Yes.
Remember these things, I believe.
Subordinate.
Yeah. So here in this case, what do we have? Transition. What do you mean by transition? Shift. You know, shift, because here you are going to move from one idea to another. You know, when you are going to have something to be written, it's just like a piece of writing, paragraph writing. Okay. With paragraph writing, you have something. That is what.
Doctor, I order my feeling.
No, here the shift from one sentence to another will be, realized by using what? By using conjunction. If there is a relationship between the two sentences as reason or as cause and effect or as, let me say, condition or concession or any type of conjunction that we have, okay? This will be represented through cohesive devices, and in this case it will be one unit. Otherwise it will be scattered ideas. You know the word scattered ideas, or
yes.
Let me say separated ideas that we don't have a relation among these things, and in this case we don't have unity. So here, when we are going to have a piece of writing, we move from sentential level to suprasentential level, or let me say context. Rafael Ahmed, you raise your hand.
Yes, doctor, I have a question.
Tell me.
So I know we have to develop all four skills all together to get best results, but I think, in my opinion, I think that teaching grammar is the first thing that we should do, and then I want to ask you this question: is like teaching grammar the first thing we have to learn, and then we develop all four skills? Because grammar, you know, is the basic for all these.
Well, you mentioned something about the grammar. You have to know the difference between two things. We have parts of language and we have language skills. You have to recognize these two categories. What does it mean? Parts of language, what do we have? We have sounds, we have vocabulary, we have grammar, okay, and we have meaning. These are parts of language, okay. And then we have skills. We have listening, speaking, reading, writing. We are not going to say we begin with parts of language and we leave language skills, or vice versa. No. Here, when we talk about sounds, vocabulary, grammar, these will be embedded with each skill. Don't we have sounds with listening?
Yeah.
Don't we have sound with speaking? Don't we have vocabulary in listening? Don't we have vocabulary in speaking? Don't we have vocabulary in reading? Don't we have vocabulary in writing? So they are embedded. So they are what? They are, integrated. You know the word integrated. They are integrated. Language, or parts of language, okay, and language skills. Because here, with each skill, we have all parts of language, okay, and all parts of language can be embedded with all language skills. So is that okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Very good. So here, as we said, that this is the time to what, to make students practice with these technicalities of writing. That is what, to know how to move from one sentence to another, how to shift, and what kind of shift is that, at random, or it is conditioned by meaning, okay. So any piece of writing, if it is meaningless, it is nothing, okay. So here with the transition, it is one of the things that we have to practice our students to do. Otherwise they are not going to have a piece of writing, because in a piece of writing at least we have a unit, a paragraph, or a composition, or an essay, okay. So we don't have single sentences, we have a unit, whether to be smaller or larger. What else? Punctuation. To write well, one must be able to use punctuation correctly. Of course, definitely, we cannot have any piece of writing without punctuation, and that's why you studied punctuation 2 years, if you remember, first year and second year. You remember?
Yes.
Composition writing.
Yes.
Because you see now with punctuation we can recognize what is the end of the sentence, for example, by having full stop, or whether just to consider that this is a question, or this is a statement, or this is an order, or so.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. The basic rules of punctuation may and may not be the same in the same student native language and English language. Yeah, definitely. Do you think that we have exactly the same punctuation that we have in English and Arabic? They are
No.
they are partly similar. Okay, we have something similar. But here, even with the way that we use it, it will be different, because each language has its own way to put their own punctuation. Okay, and even with the technicalities that we are going to use punctuation, the case will be different. Even the forming of the language by using punctuation will be different. Okay, so here we teach these things considering the differences between the native language and the target language. What else? Spelling. Writing is one of the roads to improving spelling. Dictation is useful for drawing attention to English spelling and punctuation. Of course, spelling is very important. If I have mistakes in writing, a word, how can I make others understand what is it? So spelling is very important, and that's why you see now when you have paper examination, spelling will be considered in the correction and in the mark, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's why you see some teachers are considering these things as one part of the what of the marks that are related to any material that you have. Okay, so if we have misspelling, it means that we have misunderstanding, and that's why we need to train students to be good at spelling. What is the technique? Dictation. You know the word dictation?
Yes.
You know dictation?
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Dictation means that we are going to have an activity in which the teacher is saying something orally, okay, from a text which is already studied by students, and students will be required to put it down on paper. That is dictation. What do you call it in Arabic?
Yes, yes.
What do you call it in Arabic?
الإملاء.
That's it.
الإملاء
Yeah,
دكتور.
very good.
Yes.
Organizing. It is the key to developing writing topic. The more powerful and creative the writer, the more advanced his or her organization skill generally are. What does this mean? Here, when we are talking about organization, you know, when we talk about organization, we talk about the way that we have our own style. Tabarak Ali Hussein, you have something? You raise your hand?
Yeah, doctor, just about the organization, I have a question.
Yeah, tell me.
I
still,
sometimes
I didn't, explain it, but would it be
After the
possible,
explanation.
would it be possible to wait till I explain it, and then maybe
Sure,
your
doctor.
question will be more fruitful than if you ask it just now? Okay. With organization, we talk about style. We talk about something, how can we organize our ideas, okay? Sometimes there is a saying, you know the word saying, okay? Say style is aman. Style is aman. Do you consider what does it mean? A style is aman?
doctor, because our style is expressed about
Represent
our
our own way of thinking. Here, a man, it is not to be compared with a woman. A man, it means a human being. Okay? A style is a man means that it is the representation of our own thoughts, or of our own way of thinking. Okay? So with this, with this, let me finish with this point. With this, here it is a matter of development. What does it mean? Some writers will be advanced, you consider as advanced writers, okay, because they have their own ability to put a style in which it is convincing to others if they are going to read. This is one. Second, they trained a lot. What does it mean? They have good writing skills. The way that they are going to have, a recognized style, and that's why, if you are a good reader, okay, you can consider the style of writing from the first two sentences. If you begin with for example, a book or any piece of writing, and that's why we say a style is a man. So with this case, again, it needs training. We need to train our students just to write more and more, to develop their own style of writing. Okay, this is the way. Yes, Tabarak. Now you may say something now.
Yes, in the first course we study essay, and we just try to write a lot of kind of essay. I have a problem that in organizing the ideas in essay in general. So I trained in a way just to develop my skills in this way. But I want to be, you said advanced. So how can I train to be that
Yeah.
someone advanced
Here,
organized?
here you have steps. You have steps. You see, you have to know that steps will be graded. What does it mean? You cannot begin start from the beginning free writing. You have to have guided writing. What does it mean, guided writing? You are going to begin with something that helps you to develop your level. What does it mean? It means that instead of having the essay from the beginning till the end as yours, okay, you are going to have the first paragraph to be written by others, and you are going to develop it. Just like the exercises that you have in the textbook in essay writing. The exercise, it gives you paragraph number 1, and you are responsible to complete it till the end. That is guided writing. So you have these steps. It is impossible to start from the beginning free writing, because still you are not developing yourself. So here it is step by step. You are going to develop your own abilities. This is 1 second. Didn't we say that reading is connected with writing? What does it mean?
Yes.
It means that you have to read more. It is not only just to write. Of course, you are going to develop your writing by using these techniques to know how to use cohesion and cohesive devices, and then punctuation, and then how to organize, and how to to write accurately without misspelling. It's okay, but what do you think of the style itself? You have to what? You have to know. You have to know how to develop your style by reading different resources. You are going to be exposed. You are going to be exposed by different writers, those who are skillful. Okay, because they are authors, or they are, let me say, well-known or famous writers. Of course, they have their own, let me say, advanced abilities. You can follow these things. I'm going to tell you something.
Yes, please.
Sometimes novelists, okay, they have their own way of let me say, writing. Sometimes they begin the story from the beginning, and others they begin the story from the end, and then it goes to the development. Okay, this is a style, and this is another style. You see, 2 styles. Okay.
Yes.
But what makes you, I know a famous writer, okay, Egyptian writer, who's called Saleh Morsi. Okay, he has a novel, and by the way, it is played. It is acted on TV. It is called Ra'fat al-Hajjan. He begins. If you look at his novel, he begins with the end of the story. Okay.
Yes.
Here, this style, if it is to be read, by the way, I have the novel as a written form. Okay, as a written form. If you look at these things, you are going to be motivated. Even if you know the end of the story, you are going to be motivated to complete the whole novel, because he has an advanced style to convince you to continue reading.
Yes,
That is the words, the expressions that are found. Okay. Although others will criticize that, well, how can we begin with the end? Okay, it's nothing, because we already know the end. But how can I convince you as a writer, unless I'm going to be skillful, to continue reading, although that you know the end? This is a creativity. It is a masterpiece. It is something unique. You know the word unique.
Yes.
You know the end of the story, but you are going to finish it till the end. I mean, the novel.
It is just
That
a
is the
technique to
style.
attract.
Yeah, it is a technique of writing. It is a technique of writing. So sometimes you are going to be affected once you are going to read, and that's why I read the novel. Okay, I read the novel, and I was very admired by the style that is used. Why? Because it attracts you, and it makes you. Visualize the images in his mind when it is put on paper. So he makes the word utter. You know what does it mean? It means that you are going to consider. What is to be. Really. Reflected in his own way of writing. Okay. What situations that he has, or context that he created, what kind of attraction he uses for the words, for the expressions that are found here and there.
Just in writing, I want to.
So
focus
briefly
on
speaking,
how easiest- Yes, yeah.
Tabarak,
Yes.
reading will help you. Read more.
I read in Arabic, but English.
No,
I
no.
didn't
Here, if you want,
focus.
just no.
That
Of course,
attracts
the case will be different,
Really?
totally different. If you want just to improve your own way of writing in English, you have to read in English. No way. I mean, this is a fact. No one can deny these things.
Thank you very much. That will be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. With this, we have the fifth point, that is form. Through writing, students practice various various forms and styles for writing letters to stories. Students need to know these forms, especially business letter. Of course, when we talk about these styles, we are talking about the way that we are going to formulate our total piece of writing. Okay, it is, as we said, it is a matter of exposing to other advanced styles, and these styles will be considered as example to train. So here we have the points to practice students. To enumerate it. We have transition. We have punctuation. We have spelling, organization. How to put ideas, and then using the style. Here we need just to consider some topics that are not to be required. So I want you just to be with me. After the fifth point, okay, cross all the paragraphs that follow. Okay, writing is not. This is to be crossed. This is not required.
Yes.
Page 96, totally not required. Okay. We move to page 97. Okay. The following 5 major categories of classroom writing performance. So what are the writing performance? What kind of different activities that we are going to do for writing? Okay. Here, imagine yourself that you are in a class as a teacher. Okay. What kind of performances that you have for writing? But before that, let us see Dina Muhammad and Rafael Ahmed. They raise their hands. Dina, you have a question?
Yes, doctor. I have a question.
Yeah.
Doctor, I'm asking about how to develop my writing skills. I have a problem that my speaking skills is far more advanced than my writing. I'm not asking about the creative writing. I'm asking about the spelling. like in exam, I always forget how to write the spelling of this word, so I have to think about synonyms on that, and that is really hard for me.
That is what that is to be improved by having very simple techniques. Okay, if you have some words, and by the way, it happens even with those who are, let me say, having experience with the target language. Okay, since we are all foreigners, what does it mean? We are having language as what? As not the native. It is not our native. And by the way, you have to consider that these misspelling, even it happens with the native language. So how about the target language? Don't you think that many students commit mistakes in writing in Arabic? In Arabic, not in English. Misspelling in Arabic.
Yes,
don't you think that we have it? Does it exist or not? It exists in Arabic. Okay. So how about English? Of course, this is something expected. But how can you improve these things? You can make very simple techniques. If you have some words that you feel that you have some sort of confusion how to be written this way or that way, why not just to have a training exercise in which you are going to repeat this word different times. Okay, I have a confusion how to write, for example, realize with S or with Z, for example. Is that okay, Dina? Okay, so I'm going to have the correct spelling, okay, and then I'm going to repeat it several times. I have a notebook. Make an individual exercise. It is self-exercise that you are going to do to train yourself just to write it this way. Why not? So it needs training, by the way. Once you feel that there is a defect, yeah, but you didn't continue.
I did that before.
Yeah, but you didn't continue. Yeah, but you didn't.
Pressure.
Yeah, you stopped. But you stopped. Yeah, this is partly because of your fear of the exam itself, partly because you need just to finish as quick as possible because of the limited time. So you have different reasons, okay? But here, if you feel relaxed, okay, I want you just to tell me, if you feel relaxed and there is nothing just to push you to write something, do you have the same mistakes?
No, doctor. No,
you see now. So we have different reasons. Okay, you ask different question. If you need to improve your writing skill and more specifically spelling, generally without having certain conditions for examination and limited time and confusion, this will be different from other conditions. If you are relaxed and we don't have any other circumstances to make you write well. Is that okay, Dina?
Yes, thank you, doctor.
Rafal, you have something?
Yes, doctor. So most of Shakespeare's plays begins with the medias res, like in the middle of the action. So can we say like he uses this style to differentiate himself from other writers?
Definitely, yeah. I believe that those who are reading for Shakespeare can recognize his style. Easily. Yeah. No one can deny these things. Yeah. I agree with you with this point. Ayat Ahmed, you have something?
Yes, doctor, I have a question. So as we are students in the third stage or next year, inshallah, are we obligated to write in a certain style, like the MA style, or not?
Well, when we talk about writing, we emphasize that it is a skill. And we have some sort of personal achievement. What does it mean? You as students, vary in your own way of developing this skill. So you are not going to be forced to write in a single style, no. But what we have here in writing, by the way, in writing a research paper in the fourth year,
Yes.
okay, this is what you mean. This is what is required is the methodology how to write. And if you remember, I taught you in the first course methods of research. The methodology that we tackled, how to take notes and how to make an introduction, and these steps, the scientific steps of writing a research, this is what is required. But the content, the way that you organize your ideas, no, you are going to be free to write it. But here, this freedom will be related to what? To the topic itself, okay, and to the plan that both you and the supervisor will agree to follow, how to sequence your research paper. But the style itself, no, it is to be left for you, if it is to be with the point that we have in the research paper.
Yes, thank you. Because I had a book about writing, and there was like styles and how the steps to write the MA style. I don't know if there was a higher
it is not
level of MA styles, but I didn't pay attention to it. So that's why I'm asking.
Sorry, we don't have MA style of writing or undergraduate style of writing. No. Here, sometimes these are used to refer to, let me say, grades of writing. Let me say, beginners or advanced. But we don't have undergraduate and postgraduate style. These grades are for having, let me say, certificate. You know, certificate. You are undergraduate now. Then if you are going to be accepted as an MA student, you are going to be postgraduate. These are stages, you know, stages, just like when we have primary school, intermediate school, then we have preparatory school. These things, or these stages are not related to the style of writing, okay? Shall I say that you have a style of undergraduate not as compared with the secondary school style? No, we don't have this. But these are used metaphorically, you know, metaphorically to reflect the grades of writing, to say beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Here we have these grades: beginner, intermediate, and advanced.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Now we move to the performance. What do we have as activities to be done inside a class, and you are a teacher to use these things gradually? What does it mean gradually? How can we grade writing on the part of a student's level? What do we begin with? Number one, imitative. What is imitative? Or writing down. Beginning level of learning to write. Okay, what is the first step? That is what imitative will simply write down English letters, words, and possibly sentences to learn the conventions of the orthographical. What does it mean? What is to be accepted? Conventions mean what do we accept as letters, as words, okay? In English, we begin with what? With writing letters. So this is what we call writing down, imitative. What does it mean? The teacher is going to write, for example, a letter at the board, okay? In the board, okay? And then asking the student just to what? To write, exactly the same, imitating. Okay, this is the letter P, okay? I believe that Ragad As'ad, is she here or not? Ragad?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Ragad, you can tell us, because Ragad, by the way, is a teacher. Okay, Ragad, if you begin with your students just to write letters, okay, you make them imitate you. Write the letter P.
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay, that is the letter P. This is the capital letter, and then students will look at what the board,
At the
okay,
board,
and to
yes.
do it exactly, okay, just like shaping, shaping the letter. So this is what imitative, because they do, students, exactly what the teacher is doing.
Yes.
And
that-
doctor, we can
Yeah.
use another than one way. First of all, I used to tell them to trace in the air by using their fingers. Then I applied it on the board
You
by
see now?
writing.
Okay.
Yes.
But still, it is what imitative. They do what you are going to
Yes.
do. Okay. This is what we call what imitative. Imitative. Okay. Some forms of dictation fall into this category. Okay. Although dictations can serve to teach and test higher order processing as well. Okay, what does it mean? Here, imitative, okay, can be what? Can be formed as dictation. But what kind of dictation here? We are going to say orally what is learned earlier, okay, and then they are going to write exactly. So again, it is a part of imitation, because they are not going to create something. They are not going to have something from their own. There is a paragraph which is taken from the textbook that they have. They study it, they read it before, they know the arrangement, they know how to write it. Okay, you may select a sentence, for example, from a paragraph, and you say it orally, and they are going to put it down. So again, they are going to imitate, but this is what we call an advanced way of imitation. That is what it is not just to look and imitate. No, they are going to do what they learned before, but through listening. That is what they listen and they put it down on paper. Okay, and that's why we said that in one way or another, dictation, if it is to be done simply this way, it will be imitative. But if we go in an advanced way of using dictation, it will go for, let me say, higher order processing. That is, how can they organize their own words, these verbs, these are adjectives, because they listen and they are going to put it on paper. Okay, and they are not going to make words all together. They are going to separate. This is a verb, this is a noun, this is an adjective, this is a, okay. For example, you dictate a sentence: the boy is playing in the garden. Okay, so here they are going to recognize that the boy is a subject, and it will be written in the capital letter, and then they are not going to confuse words. They are going to put the preposition in its appropriate position, and the verb in its appropriate position, because here we have organization of the words that are to be received through listening by dictation, and then to put it on paper. Is that okay?
Yes, that's
Yes,
right.
doctor. Yes.
Now, what do we have as steps for dictation? What we are going to do? Teacher reads a short paragraph once or twice at a normal speed, and this is very important. Okay, Ragad, you do the dictation this way?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, you read a short paragraph once or twice. Why to say twice? Because students cannot recognize from the first reading. Okay, because they are going to depend on listening to put it on paper.
So we should repeat, doctor?
And then at a normal speed. What does it mean, normal speed? It is not just to read quickly, because they cannot recognize. You read it, for example, word level, at a word level, not a sentence level. Okay?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Teacher reads the paragraph in a short phase units of 3 or 4 words each, and each unit is followed by a pause. You know a pause. What do you mean a unit?
Yes.
For example, a clause. You know a clause? Here you have a sentence of 2 clauses, separating by what? A comma. So you are going to pause in the comma, and then you are going to continue reading. Get the point now?
Yes.
During the pause, students write exactly what they hear. Teacher then reads the whole paragraph once more at normal speed so students can check their writing. You see, once you finish, saying all the paragraph, you are going to repeat it once again because this is for checking. They finish, you say that, now pencil down. They are going to what? They are going to what? To check their own writing depending on the last reading that is to be done by the teacher. The scoring of students' written work can utilize number of rubrics for assigning points. What does it mean, rubric? Here we have different tests to be done. Here you are going to check the different development that you are going to. The first unit you have 1 sentence to be dictated. The second unit you have 2 sentences. The third unit you have, for example, 4 sentences. And that's why here you are going to have your rubric. What does it mean? What kind of achievement that you have for 3 or 4 tests that is to be done through dictation? Usually spelling and punctuation errors are not considered serve as grammatical errors. Of course, each error will be considered independently. And grammatical error is different from spelling error. Is that okay with imitative?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear.
We go to intensive, intensive
That's
or
fine.
intensive or controlled writing. But before that, we have Sarah Abdulkarim. You have something?
Yes, I have a question. In primary school, we do these steps, such as steps, and when we write a short paragraph once or twice in a normal speed. This is the steps for the primary or for other stages.
It depends on the level of students, Sarah. It depends on the level of students. What does it mean? It means that I feel that I have a good time with students to begin with the stages that we mentioned. Okay, so here is it the same when we begin teaching English in the first year of the primary school with the schools that begin English teaching with the 5th stage?
No, it's different.
So what does it mean? It means that we are not going to decide that we put it in the primary school or in secondary school. The more that we train our students, the better the image will be for deciding which stage that we use dictation. Okay, sometimes we begin with the first year, okay, and then we are going to move to the other stage that we are going to have in number 2, okay, in the same stage, that is the primary school, because we begin earlier. But if you begin late, you are going to delay the other stages for the other the other techniques for the other stages. If we are going to have primary school, you delay it for the intermediate school.
And what it is suited for their level.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Intensive or controlled. Writing is sometimes used as production mode for learning, reinforcing or testing grammatical concepts. Okay. So with writing, we move. You see, now we move gradually from letters to write words correctly with the spelling, and then we are going to what? To have something different. That is what the grammatical consideration. Or here the intensive writing typically appears in controlled written grammar activities. This type of writing does not allow much, if any, creativity on the part of the writer. What does it mean? It means that we have, for example, exercises in a grammar which takes a form of paragraphs. Okay, here we are going to have an example which is found in the book. A common form of controlled writing is to present a paragraph to students in which they have to alter. You know the word alter, change. The word alter means change.
Yes.
Change, given structure throughout. Got the point now? So here the exercise will be what? Will be grammatically oriented. It is put in a paragraph, but what is to be considered? There is something specific. That is what? Grammar. Okay? You are going to ask your students to change. So here the change will not be, related to the content, but to the form of the structure. Sometimes you are going to have a story, okay? But this story will have a grammatical exercise. What does it mean? You are going to have a subject and then you put the verb between two brackets in two forms.
Yes,
for example, he need or needs. You are going to put it between two brackets.
Put
So
the verb in the
students,
suitable, yes.
change. You see, this is what we call what? Controlled writing. That is what the student is not going to create something, to write something, but to change what is found, or to choose which is suitable. So is that okay?
That's correct.
You mean correct, doctor?
Yeah, choose the correct option. Through what? Through a text, by the way, through a paragraph. Okay, for example, a story to be put in a paragraph, and there are keywords are put between brackets, and the students are going to change according to the structure. Okay, if the sentence is in present simple tense, the changes will be related to the main verb, whether it takes S or not.
Doctor, sometimes in monthly exam they take a sentence and said put it between bracket and said change related to the correct tense. So
Yeah. Whether it is in the present or the past, according to the story itself. If it is a storytelling, it should be changed to the past.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Guided reading loosens the teacher's control, but still offers a series of stimulators. For example, asking students several questions to retell a story just viewed on a videotape. Okay. What do you mean by loosen the teacher's control? That is, now students are left with the exercise, but the teacher is not going to be with them, because they are going to choose according to their grammatical knowledge. So this will make students are responsible for their own writing, not the teacher. Is not going to, not just like imitation. You know, imitation. If we are going to compare control writing with imitation, we are going to see that the students are doing exactly what. So the teacher is controlling the behavior of students, but here no, it is left to the grammatical knowledge of students. So is he controlling or not? Is the teacher controlling here or not?
No.
So he's not controlling, because it is left to the grammatical abilities of students to choose the correct option. But still he is what? He's having a series of stimulators. What does it mean? He is going to, for example, he has a story to be told through video, okay, and he is asking students just to retell through the written form this story. Instead of to be visualized, okay, as let me say as a video, it will be retold through the written form. So they are not responsible to create something, to tell the story of their own. The story that is I mean told through a video will be retold through writing. So still it is controlled. It is controlled writing. Another form of control writing is to dictocom. What does it mean, dictocom? Where a paragraph is read at a normal speed, usually 2 or 3 times, then the teacher asks students to rewrite the paragraph to the best of recollection of the reading. What does it mean, recollection of the reading? Here they are going to write it differently, not exactly the same. The way that they remember. Got the point now? So I'm going to ask the students, okay, listen students, I'm going to say this story. I read it once, then I read it twice, and said, okay, now write it the way that you remember. So they are not going to write immediately once I'm going to say, no. Or they are not going to write once I'm going to, just like imitation or with dictation, no. They are going to remember, and they are going to write the story. It is not their own story, it is not their own creativity, but it is their own arrangement.
Doctor, it is the same for when we give a paragraph on the boy and we ask to rewrite it on the girl.
Yeah, I mean partly the same, but here no, you are going to say the story, but
Yes.
their own organization will be different because they are going to write the story depending on what they remember. How can they formulate it? How can they organize it? They are not going
Yes.
to be dictated, but they are going to listen, for example, once or twice, and then after listening we say, yes, now write the story as far as you remember. This is
Doctor, I check the ability or competence from my students.
yeah exactly.
So here the story is one, but the things that different is
the
a way of
organization
writing.
organization of the story will be different according to
Arrangement.
according to what they remember.
Student.
Each
one will
write it in
with
different way.
different.
Yes. Keywords from the paragraph could be written as cues, for students. That is to help them to remember. Guided writing is done, therefore, through the use of clues, information, or guidelines at the beginning and intermediate levels. Guided writing is a helpful way for students to build confidence in their writing ability. Why to say to build confidence? Of course, if they do something and they feel that they do it correctly, this will motivate them just to do more. You know the point then? So again, there is a psychological factor in the way that they are going to be motivated if they feel that what they do is correct. Okay. The other paragraph will not be required. Okay, so cross it. Okay, this is sentence formation. Okay, next page, page 99. Okay, this is scramble sequences, narrative. These are not required. Okay, then we move to what? We move to self-writing. Self-writing, what does it mean? It means writing with only the self in mind as an audience, such as note-taking, where students take notes during a lecture for the purpose of later recall, diary or journal writing in which students record thoughts, feelings, and reactions. One part or one example for this kind of self-writing: examination. In examination, you are going to recall the information that is said by the teacher, okay, through your own answers, okay. This is what we call self-writing. You are going to rely on the teacher's thoughts, okay, and you are going to recall it and to rewrite it in your own way. This is what we call self-writing. Any question about this?
No, exactly.
Okay. Display writing. It means writing within the school curricula content such as short answer activities, essay, examination, and research. Again, it is one of the. You see here, what is the difference between self-writing and display writing? In self-writing, you are going to arrange your notes, okay, personally, but these notes are taken from the ideas that are said by the teacher. Is that okay? But in display writing, you are going to have, for example, in the examination, questions that are related to the material, and your questions, these questions will be answered by you depending on your own style and the understanding of the material that you are going to examine. For example, you have linguistics as let me say, a paper exam to be done in the final examination, okay. You are going to answer the questions, okay, in relation to the material that you took, okay, but depending on your own style, depending on your own way of understanding. In research, in reports, for example, the reports that you made for CLT, you of course you use different resources, or even you have these information that you have, okay, and then you put it, reorder it in your own style. Although it is what? It is a report. It is not your own creativity. You rely on different resources to put it, but here your own ideas, your own personal ideas are not found. It is a report. Still, it is a report, just like the reports that you have. Then real writing. 3 subcategories illustrate how reality can be injected. That is academic writing. That is research writing. Okay, vocational technical writing, and personal writing. When you write a letter, for example, a personal letter to your friend, this will be personal writing. With this, we finalize chapter 11, which is related to writing. Other things that are followed will be left, will be crossed. Okay, here. On page 102, again, these will be crossed. These are not required. Then we move to another chapter. That is chapter 12.
Doctor, just before you go to another chapter, please. Just about the academic writing. It's different from our normal writing.
Academic writing, research writing. This is academic. What does it mean? You follow a scientific step to write. This is what we call academic writing.
So there is any terms that we should use?
Personal writing, no. It is a free writing. You are not required just to follow scientific steps. That's
yes. Thank you.
We move to chapter 12. That is teaching grammar. Teaching grammar. Goals and techniques for teaching. Yes, please.
Doctor, for extract from all this, we can say the purpose of written communication is to capture your reader's attention and get your point across clearly.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Goals and techniques for teaching grammar. Now, here the point that we mentioned earlier, that we have skills and we have parts of language. Okay, grammar as one of the recognized part of language.
Language.
Yeah. How can it be taught communicatively. Grammar is the system of rules governing the conventional arrangement and relationship of words and sentences. You know, this is the definition. What is a grammar here? Syntax. I mean, words arrangement, how to put it in a sentence. Technically, okay, grammar refers to sentence level rules only. Sentence level, the arrangement of sentence. Grammatical competence occupies a prominent position as a major components of communicative competence. You remember this when we tackle linguistic ages, when we talk about Chomsky's review and Himes' review. So grammatical competence is part of communicative competence. Appropriate grammar focusing techniques. Okay, what are the techniques that are related to CLT in teaching grammar? Grammar is embedded. What does it mean here? Embedded. Grammatical rules are embedded in meaningful communicative context. What does it mean? It is a tool to achieve communication. It is not the aim. And this is very important. Contribute positively to communicative goals, of course. If grammar is not achieving communication, it is meaningless. So it should work positively. That is to achieve understanding. If my grammar is correct and accepted, it will achieve communication. Otherwise, it is meaningless. Promote accuracy within fluent communicative language, and this is very important. Accuracy within fluency. What does it mean? It means that what is the basic aim for CLT? That is what? Fluency. But within fluency, we have to have correct grammar. Okay, otherwise it will not be understood, and there
it has to make sense.
So here, accuracy within fluency. Why to say? Because the basic aim behind CLT is what? To achieve fluency. But fluency doesn't mean that I use corrupt, you know the word corrupt or incorrect language.
Yes.
Otherwise I cannot use. Otherwise I cannot have understanding by the other side, and we don't have communication. Do not overwhelm students with linguistic terminology. Do not be too much with terminology. Okay, what does it mean? It means that use language for the sake of language rather than just to have it scientifically represented. Grammatical rules are lively as possible. What does it mean? Authentic. We are behind, for example, tenses to reflect the meaning. Why do we use present simple tense? To represent a fact or a general habit. That is what? To have sentences that reflect the everyday language use. Okay, if I have a fact or a general habit, I'm going to use what? Present simple tense, and this is the authentic use of it, rather than just to emphasize the structure. Okay, I want you just to move to the to other pages, because the other things are mixed with the another papers that are related to the previous chapter. So page 100 would be crossed. The last paragraph of page 103 will be crossed, because 100 is related to the previous chapter, that is for writing. Okay, 101 will be crossed because it is related to chapter 11, that is related to writing. There is something mixed here in the textbook that I have. I don't know whether you have the same copy or not. So 101 is crossed. It is not related to grammar. Now we move to 104. Okay, in the mid. What is found at the beginning will be crossed because it is not required. The goal of grammar instruction. Have you seen it or not? Just tell me. The goal of grammar instruction is to enable students to carry out their communication purposes, and this is very important. What is the grammar instruction? That is what is required from the teacher. What is required from the teacher? Just to carry out communication purposes. What does it mean? We use grammar as a tool for communication, not the aim. This goal has three implications. What does it mean? Students need overt instruction. What does it mean overt? Direct instruction, clear instruction that connects the grammar point with larger communication context. Students do not need to master every aspect of each grammar point, only those that are relevant to the immediate communication task, and this is very important. We are not going to be too much with the grammar. We select the grammar that serve communication in a specific task. What does it mean? I have a dialogue in a classroom activity. Within dialogue, what do we have? We have a grammatical point. So we are not going to go deeper to the grammatical role, but we are going to explain the grammatical relating to the structures that are found where in the dialogue. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Error correction is not always the instructor's first responsibility. As we said that we are behind fluency, so error correction will not be paramount. It will be secondary. Okay, let us consider what is overt grammar instruction. Adult students appreciate and benefit from direct instruction that allow them to apply critical thinking skills to the learning. Teachers can take advantage of this by providing explanation that gives students a descriptive understanding. What does it mean, descriptive? Here I'm going to expose students to the rules, but I'm not going to ask them to memorize them, and this is very, very, very important. I am going to put them on the let me say on the board, but I'm not going to ask them just to memorize them. It is not to be given the structures, the patterns for memorization, but to describe them. Yes, it is okay. I'm going to give them, for example, the pattern for a future. Okay, using will and shall. I'm going to say subject, will, shall, and then we have base form verb. Okay, but not to be memorized, but to be recognized. This is we are going to describe. This is the future using will and shall. Okay, so this is to describe, not to memorize. Teach the grammar point in the target language or the student's first language or both. Okay, if it is okay with the target, if they understand with the target, will be okay. If it is not, use English and Arabic. If it is not, use Arabic with let me say with the brief explanation in order to make them understand. This is the aim. Make them understand the rule. If it is in English, in the target language, will be okay. English and Arabic will be okay. Arabic, because if you have a problem to make them understand, it will be accepted. Limit the time you devote to grammar explanation to 10 minutes, especially for lower level students whose ability to sustain attention to be limited. Why? Because if you are going to give more time, students will be involved with the grammar rather than using language. So be with the use, with the practice, with the exercises, rather than with the detailed explanation of the grammar. Because this is not a lesson for grammar. It is an English lesson in which we have different activities to be done, and these activities will be the aim rather than focusing on grammar. But what do we have here in reality? In Iraqi schools, they emphasize grammar most of the time. Most of the time, if the lesson 45 minutes, 35 minutes for grammar, and the other activities will be done in 10 or 5 minutes, and this is wrong. Present the grammar points in written and oral ways, whether you are going to say it orally or to write it both. The needs of, to address the needs of students with different learning styles. If they are going to use grammar orally, say it orally. If they are going to use it in a written form, so this is the need of students. An important part of grammar instruction is by providing examples. The teacher needs to plan their examples carefully around two basic principles. Be sure that examples are accurate and appropriate. What does it mean? Prepare your examples in advance. What does it mean? You have a lesson plan. Do not, pause in making them, or you are going to have some minutes to wait for what examples that. No, make your example ready. Okay, before presenting the lesson. So make it accurate and appropriate. But if you are going to make it at a sudden, they may be inaccurate, or they may be inappropriate to the situation that you have in the class. Okay, they must present the language appropriately, be culturally appropriate for the setting in which they are used, and to be the point for the lesson. Use the examples as teaching tool. Focus example on particular theme or topic so that students have more contact with the specific information and vocabulary. What does it mean? If you check the textbook that is now taught in Iraqi schools, secondary school, we have topics, not parts of language to be given. Unit 1, for example, you have a title, for example, family, okay, or you may have another title, at a picnic, okay. These topics are the main concern, not the grammatical one, but here we are going to have the grammatical point within the topic itself. The topic will be represented by a dialogue or by a passage. But within a passage, within a dialogue, what do we have? Grammatical points. So what to emphasize? The topic, not the grammatical point. The grammatical point will be studied within the activity. Is that okay?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor. Yes.
The last point that we are going to discuss in grammar, error correction. Other things before that, relevance of grammar instruction will be crossed. The other page will be crossed. We move to page 107. Okay, error correction. At all proficiency levels, learners produce language that is not exactly the language used by native speakers, of course. You see now, because still they are foreigners. Some of the differences are grammatical, while others involve vocabulary selection and mistakes in the selection of language appropriate for different contexts. In responding to student communication, teachers need to be careful not to focus on error correction to the determinant of the communication. What does it mean? Do not break their own fluency, okay, and make them less confident. Teachers need to let students know when they are making errors so that they can work on improving. What does it mean? Keep them do the activity. Monitor their remember when we talk about these things as when teacher as a monitor. Keep them for the other time. Do not break their own fluency. Teachers also need to build students' confidence. You see, this is a psychological factor in their ability to use language by focusing on the content of their communication rather than the grammatical form. Do not emphasize the grammatical form now and then. Make them talk. Say what they have in their own, okay. Focus on the idea. Okay, if they commit a mistake here and there, it will be tolerated, and it will be, if it is recurrent, it will be notified later on. But focus on the content. What do they have in their mind? Teachers can use error correction to support language acquisition and to avoid using it in ways that undermine students' desire to communicate in the language by taking cues from the context. When students are doing structured output activities, you remember these things in speaking that focus on development of new language skills, use error correction to guide them. Now let us take an example how to make how to recognize this error. Student in a class, I buy a new car yesterday. What is the mistake here? What is the mistake? The mistake in using the verb in the present while we have yesterday, it should be what? Bought.
Yes.
But here, is the idea received? This is okay. Is the idea received? Yes, because here the idea of buying a new car. That is the idea. That is the idea we want us to focus. Do we have a grammatical mistake? Yes. Here the teacher is saying, yeah, you bought a new car yesterday. Remember, the past tense of buy is bought. You see now the teacher? When students are engaged in academic activities, correct errors only if they interfere with comprehensibility. And this is very important. Okay? Respond using correct. Here, if the language is totally incorrect, here the correction will be made. Okay, but one mistake is here, one mistake is there, and communication is going on, with understanding is going on, comprehension is going on, doesn't affect. But if the language is totally incorrect, if the grammar is totally incorrect, and there is misunderstanding, and there is misconception, and there is no communication, here correction should be made. Okay. The other topics, strategies for learning grammar, is to be crossed. I mean, on page 108 will be crossed, 109 will be crossed, 110 would be crossed, 111 would be crossed, 112 would be crossed till the end of the chapter, and 113 would be crossed. All these things will not be required. And with this, we finalize with chapter 12. We have Batul Assam.
Yes,
you
Doctor.
raise your hand. Then we have Abdullah. Batul.
I don't have a question, but Hawra Jum'a is left the meet because she don't have charge in his phone.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, Abdullah Yasin, you have something?
Yes, Doctor. I think that with teaching grammar, we can say by some sort or other we have a psychological factor, which is the emphasis that has been given to the examples, to the topics, rather than the individual rules, because I think that the students will acquire the structure, the rules, rather than just giving them the individual rules.
Exactly.
Might be considered also a psychological factor.
Exactly. That's very fine. Sajjad, Falah, you have something?
Thank you, Doctor. Yes, I have a technique for introducing the present tense for the student. I use, for example, 3 or more students holding each one of them element of the sentence. For example, one of them holding a subject and the second holding the paper of the verb, and the other hold the complement. For example, if I want learn them the future tense, I make them arrange them in the sequence, and on the third student I make him stand in the we can say in isolation, and after that I will bring that student and insert between them. So by this technique I will make them they recognize and distinguish the positions of the wall, that student holding the paper of wall or shall. I put him between the subject, I mean the one who holding the paper, the subject, and the second who holding the verb. And also when this student, the student holding the paper of the verb, I make him holding the verb for the first paper, and the second for the S, I mean, for example, read and S. When I insert that student, I make him remove or group the paper with the S, so they will recognize that will or shall when it's insert with the future, it will make the verb is, we can say, regular and without any addition.
That's very fine. Yeah, we have different drills, different exercises. By the way, all these things are very fine and they are frequently used. But you see, here, as we said, we emphasize what communication. So here, CLT. When we CLT is behind using grammar as a tool for communication, not the aim. And this is to be, I mean, the principle of teaching grammar, the way that we are behind topics to be given in the textbook, and within the activity that we have a grammar embedded. Okay, this is the idea. Thanks a lot, Sajjad. Rafael, you have something? Yeah, Rafael.
Yes, doctor. So I studied my high school abroad. They focus on reading and writing more than speaking and listening, even for ELL students. So does it depend on the country or how this works?
Well, you may consider even what is the policy of education. It is not. Yeah, you said it depends on the country. Yes, because each country has its own way of. I mean, directing. I mean, the educational institutes. Okay, of course, definitely. We said that. Here, this is related to the policy of the country itself. What kind of educational policy they follow, and what is the philosophy of education at that country? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. Tabarak, Ali Hussein?
Yes, doctor, just addition of grammar.
Yeah.
Grammar is taught in a way that we can call it inductive. Learners are not presented with a list of grammatical rules that they have to learn parts of presentation, practice, and production cycle. But rather, the teacher provides them with examples from which the learners will have to infer the rules by themselves. And this way, by the scientific protocols, as an inductive way of teaching conscious rising. By means of conscious rising, the teacher makes the learners relate the new grammatical concept to other grammatical information they have already have. So by using or mixing the information they now learn and the information that already learned, they will make it rising conscious to relate grammatical rules or to make it a mean of communication, to achieve it, to be a communication. Thank you.
That's very fine. That's very fine. Yeah, of course. We have these things. As we mentioned earlier, and you elaborated on these things very perfectly. Thanks a lot. Sarah, you have something?
Yes, doctor. I want to ask about the final material. Should we final all the material, finish with it, or we have 2 chapters left?
I said earlier that we are going to have basically, you see, we should finish with the 12 chapters, okay? But here, since we have, I mean, an earlier final exam, which begins on the 5th of June, coming month, we are going to have only, 7 chapters. Next week, next Monday will be the final lecture, and it will be about vocabulary and spelling, and that's it. So we totally we are going to have 7 chapters to be included in the final examination. Is that okay? Today we finished, and by the way, you have to consider that I eliminated, you know the word eliminated, different topics within the chapters. Only chapter, which is related to, I don't know the number, which is related to speaking. Only speaking skill as a chapter, it is tackled totally. Other
Yes.
chapters are reduced, reduced. The way that you are going to consider what is tackled only,
Yes,
and
yes.
what is
we
crossed
know.
would be left, and you are not responsible for. And this, you see now. Today we tackled 2 chapters. You see, 2
Yes.
chapters, but they are
Yes.
they are summarized and they are reduced just to what to the things that we tackle only.
Yes, that's thank you.
Abdullah, once again, you have something?
Yes, Doctor. I have a question regarding to the fluency. Does it emphasize even with the written or the grammatical forms rather than
Well,
the
with the fluency, you see now, we said earlier that fluency is related to what? To the spoken form of language. And we said that grammar is embedded in written and oral forms. But with the fluency here, the emphasis, we emphasize fluency in speaking. And within fluency, we should have accuracy in making our utterances understood. Of course, if grammar is totally corrupt, corrupt or incorrect, we don't have a meaningful utterance, and in this case we have misunderstanding and we don't have communication. So here, emphasizing fluency according to CLT doesn't mean that we are going to neglect accuracy. So accuracy will be embedded within the fluency principle in CLT.
Yes.
Any other comments? Thanks a lot for your yes, Shahad, you have something? Yes, you have something?
It's very clear. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Well, what we need is just to consider that next week will be the final lecture. You know why? Because according to the instructions that are given by the Department of English or the head of the department, the 31st of May will be the final day for giving lectures. So next week will be the 13th, okay? When you say 30 of May, it will be, we are within the time. So what we need just to see more students, existing, because here next week, once we finish with the lecture, I'm going to give you the averages. The averages. The averages for CLT. Since we have still examination of reports, we are going to do it on Friday and Saturday. And what we have only maybe 50 students, only 50. We are going to finish them. Within these 2 days, and then next Monday will be the last lecture and the delivery of your own averages. Okay.
And we are
okay. Thanks a lot for everything. Thanks a lot.
Doctor, I have book, but it is different from that we talk.
What is it?
That we study CLT. So can you enclose the original in a class?
You mean the textbook? You mean the textbook?
Yes,
well, if you need just to check with me, for the coming lecture, okay? For the coming lecture, you may remind me of this if you want me just to check whether the topics, okay? So we are not going to have the papers, the number of papers, only the topics. What are the topics that are to be crossed? Or if you are in a hurry, you can contact me privately, okay, to check with you what is required and what is not. If you have another copy from the textbook, this is not for you, Shahad, for other students. if they are in a hurry to check their own textbook with me, I'm ready just to contact them privately, okay, to tell them what is required and what is not.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.